Alrighty traders, so I am using the TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim platform, and today I'm going to explain how to read the Japanese candlesticks. The Japanese candlesticks are these bars with little, hairs that you guys see right here. They're, most likely present on traditional graphs, but it's going to be very important for you to understand how to read it and what they mean. Why is it that some have bigger bars than others, and why is it that some have whiskers and some don't? So I'm going to explain to you what the red and what the green candlestick, as well as these little crosses right there mean, okay? So let's go ahead and get a little bit more into it. Let's look at the frequency that I am looking at. Again, I'm looking at a 1 day, 1 minute frequency, meaning that my scale is 24 hours and that each candlestick stands for 1 minute. Meaning that from 1 minute from the market open, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Understanding these are all 1 minute candlesticks. So if you change the frequency, then the candlesticks will change according to where they were within that specific time frame. Now, I'm using the 1 minute frequency, meaning that from when the market opened, what this range means from top to bottom, it means that the market opened at 1755, ended up hitting lows of 1752, but within that same minute, ended up closing at 1760. And this is something that you guys have to understand. When it's a green candlestick, you have to look at it from bottom to top. The reason that it's green is because it opened where the bottom of the square is and it closed at the top of the square. This is because it's a green candlestick, meaning from top to bottom it closed at a higher price from where it originated at. Meaning that, again, looking at the price point right here, 1755 was where it opened. It hit lows of 1752, but it ended up closing at 1760. Meaning that when that 1 minute was over, it ended up making the transition here to 1760, and this candlestick ended up closing in the green, meaning that from 1755 it closed at 1760, meaning that it increased by 5 cents. Again, there was growth, and that's why this candlestick is green. Now, what does this mean? This thing is like a little cross. Why is it the way that it is? Again, it opened at 1760 and it closed at 1760. Meaning that there is no top or bottom of the square. There's just a little cross. Therefore, it opened and it closed at 1760, but it had a range and a low of 1753 and a high of 1761 within that 1 minute. But when it ended up closing for that second minute, it closed at that 760 price point. Now moving on to the next candlestick. Again, it opened at 1758 and closed at 1767. It had a range and a high of 1769, but had a low of 1757. Therefore, it opened at 1758 and closed at 1767. Therefore, it closed at a higher price point than where it opened, and that's why it's a green candlestick. Now let's move on over to this candlestick that we see right here. Well, this previous candlestick ended up closing at 1778 and ended up moving on over here to 1780. Meaning that this candlestick, when it opened, because it's red, instead of reading it from bottom to top, it's now from top to bottom, and ended up opening at 1779 within that 1 minute and ended up closing at 1774. Therefore, because it closed within that 1 minute time frame at a lower price point, so again 1774, than when it previously did at 1780, it saw loss within that 1 minute from open to close within that 1 minute frequency, and that's why this candlestick is red. It had a range of highs of 1780 and had a lows of 1771, but again, it opened at 1779 and it closed at 1774. So what is it that you need to understand about the Japanese candlestick? Well, understand that the ranges and how you read the green ones are from bottom to top, and the whiskers just stand for the range of where it was within that time frame. So in our example, it's 1 minute. Therefore, within 1 minute, it was from 1767 to highs of 1778, but ended up opening at 1767 and closed at 1774. Now, moving on to the red one, it opened, and you have to read it from top to bottom. It closed at a lower price point than what it opened at. So again, it opened at 1780 and closed at 1774. Therefore, it saw a loss of 6 cents, but it had a range from highs of 1780 to a low of 1772. So why is it important to be able to understand how to read these candlesticks? Well, there's different ways and there's different reasons on why reading these Japanese candlesticks are important, but it comes out to understanding how quick and how wide the spread of the specific candlestick is. If you're looking at this 1 minute candlestick, I mean, it's going to be useful for you to be able to identify where it opens and where it closes, making sure that you can, label 1755 as a support, and then overall here you can label that the 1790 as a resistance. So again, giving you guys a breakdown on how to read the Japanese candlesticks, sometimes you actually just see dashes. And what do those dashes mean? Well, understanding that this dash means that it opened and it closed at that same specific, 1760 price point, but had a range of 1761 and lows of 1753. This dash means that it did not move. Within that 1 minute, there was no, movement from that specific price. There was no price movement within this specific price, meaning that it had very low volume, and you usually see this during pre-market hours or in very low cap stocks that don't see a lot of volume. Understanding that, again, the reason that this is a dash is because within this 1 minute time frame, it opened at 1757 and it closed at 1757 and did not move at all. Therefore, again, when it comes down to reading the green ones from bottom to top, the red ones from top to bottom. So now that we have a better understanding on how to read these Japanese candlesticks, being able to perform the proper technical analysis is going to be that much easier for you when it comes down to being able to identify a support and a resistance and having a better understanding on when the pullbacks are happening and when it's, seeing signs of upward momentum. So before moving on to the next video, if you have any questions regarding how to read the Japanese candlestick, please feel free to message me before moving on to the next clip. Thank you guys again.